Good morning, garden friends. I am in love with succulents. Last year, I ended up doing a succulent pot for our patio, and it is doing wonderful. And so I decided I wanted to do another one for underneath where our courtyard is. And this is the thing. Now, there are things that succulents need that, folks really don't talk about. And it isn't about the water, the light, or even the right soil. And once I realized what was involved, that's when I started to be successful with doing succulents, and all the more reason why I'm actually doing another container. So today we're going to be talking about what can make or break you being successful with succulents. Now, succulents are listed as low maintenance, but there are some things that end up getting overlooked. Now, while they may be labeled, there is some key information that when planting up succulents to take into consideration that ends up, causing issues for individuals to be successful with their succulents. And my goal today is at the end of this video, you will be able to understand what succulents actually need without overthinking or overworking them. So the big question is, what is the one thing succulents need? Intention. Being intentional in how you set it up, how you place them, and then also the observation of them. The one thing that I found that helped me with being successful is slowing down. And by doing that, it allows me to understand their signals instead of just going based off of or following a generic checklist. Now, most labels will say low water, bright light, but they don't go into the specifics of what the succulents need and based off of the type that you choose to put into your containers. Because low water doesn't mean don't water it, and bright light doesn't mean have it in the sun all day. And without being intentional, that is where we can go wrong when it comes to having healthy and successful succulent containers. Now, while working with succulents is new to me, I've had some that, didn't do well. And it wasn't because I wasn't caring for them. It was because I didn't know what to look for. So now let me share with you what intention really consists of. When I say intention or being intentional about setup, key, making sure you have a nice drain hole for them, because succulents do not like to have wet feet. All that does is it encourages, rot. And then most succulents do tend their leaves to absorb, or hold water. And if you're overwatering it and you don't have a good draining hole, that can contribute to your succulents not being successful. Intentional placement. That has to do with understanding the movement of the sun. As we go through some of my choices, some of these guys can handle sun, but some of them prefer, part sun. So I'm not just looking at whether or not it looks good in the location, but whether or not it will live well in the location. Now, when we talk about intentional observations, there are signals that your succulents will let you know if you are looking at them, whether or not that there are, issues with your succulents. Are they wrinkling? Do they look like they are holding on to water? Are the leaves soft or mushy? Are they stretching? By observing and being intentional about observing your succulents, it can tell you a lot. So now let's get into me sharing with you the succulents that I'm going to put in this pot. And one of the things that I tried to make sure of was there were similar needs and characteristics, but then making sure I had different textures, different shades of color, things that would end up accentuating the collage of the succulents that I chose. Okay, so some of the ones that I chose. This here is a Lilac Wonder. I so love the structure of this succulent. I have a Hawthorn Universe. I love the texture that this will end up giving to the container. I have actually 2 of the California Sunsets. And the one thing that I so love about these is on the tips, they have like a red hue. And if you end up planting them and it getting the correct amount of sun, that redness gets rich in color. I also have the Bellum Atar, and I so love the, the small clusters that this ends up having. Now, I'm probably going to cut maybe the little small ones off and tuck them in elsewhere within this container. I have an Aloe or Rosa that I'm also going to plant in here. I have a Rogersii, I think that's how you say it. I'll make sure I put up the names of the succulents. I got 2 of the variegated rainbow bushes. I'm really excited to see how this ends up doing in this container, because I had seen it in some other pots that were already, pre-structured. So I think that variegation is going to look nice. And then for a little bit of spillover, I got the Burro tails that I'm going to be placing in this container. All right, a couple tools that I have. Once I get the succulents in the pot, just to ensure no dirt is on the leaves, because that can encourage moisture, which in turns can end up impacting your succulents. I got my little shovel to where while I'm going to fill up this pot, these guys don't get buried. They need to stay a little bit above the soil. And then this is how I water. I'll fill this up, and this is making sure I'm watering at the root. Now, none of these guys are going to get watered today because the soil in these containers are already moist, and I'm not looking to, have the soil sopping wet. I will be using the Miracle-Gro Cactus, Palm, and Citrus potting soil for these, because this is the proper soil for fast draining, and every last one of these require fast draining. Now, I'm going to be putting this inside, our home because the area that I'm going to be putting it at is exposed, outside. And until we get that steady 50, 55 degree temperature, I'm going to keep them in the house so that when the temperature goes down, or if we end up possibly having, freezing weather, it is not going to do harm to these guys. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to get the pot filled up. And this is the one thing. As you guys know, I don't pack containers, but I find when I do, it just looks so gorgeous. And this is the one that I had done earlier in last year that is just doing fantastic. So let's go ahead and get the pot filled up. I want to put a little bit more because the California Sunset, that's going to be my center shade, and I want it just a little bit higher in the pot. And because the leaves on most, and especially these guys, don't like to, be putting your fingers on it, so it doesn't draw any of the moisture out. Now, the one thing that I am going to do is I'm going to take some of this soil off. And then anything that looks like it's dying back, I'm just going to go ahead and get that off. And then this one here even got little babies that are in here. Okay, so that's the California Sunset. Now, I know this I want to have spilt over, but I believe these guys, the Variegated rainbow bush, I'm thinking about doing this. And this is what I normally do, is try to get them set for how I want this to look. And then maybe the aloe here. Go ahead and put the universe here. Put the Bellum here. Put the lilac here. The Rogersii here. And then I think these are three, there are three separate ones that I think I'll end up lining up here in the front. And then I will top it all off with some pebbles just to give that finished look. So I'm really excited. Let's go ahead, and that way I can remember where I said I was going to put these guys. And now any that fall off, I'm going to propagate those to allow them to take root. Oh wow, look at that root system. And this is a good thing, and what helps them be successful that I learned, and part of the contributing factor of why I don't have a problem packing it. The closer knit it is, they tend to fill in really nicely, and I don't have to end up changing it out. Oh, okay. A lot of that dirt came off of there. There's a couple on here that I want to get off. Let me do this one. Okay, so I think I am gonna take some of these little ones off to where, let's take some of this off first. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is just stick these guys in here. And I'm just going to turn this around so I can go ahead and get these guys positioned in here. Oh, I think I am going to put this other one here. I wish I could separate it. Okay, so just so you guys know, in regards to it getting too much water, you see how the color is changed and it's very soft. So I'm going to take all of those off. One thing about these guys, they are very temperamental. But like I said, I'm going to pot those up. Go ahead and get these guys, get all this dirt. Okay. So, also thinking too, the size that these guys will get. I do think I want to find or put something right in line with those, what are those called? The burrow tails. So that, just to tuck it in there. So. But so far, guys, does that not look adorable? Okay, it is all done. Isn't that gorgeous, guys? And, you know, adding the rocks, it's twofold. It gives it a nice finish look. And with succulents, while you want the roots to touch and make contact with the soil, by having the rocks there, it keeps the leaves from sitting in the moisture of the soil. Now, I will admit, not all belong in the same pot like I have it, but that is where being intentional plays a big part. Now, while these will be indoor until the weather breaks, where they're ultimately are going to be placed, will allow them to be successful. This isn't a forever pot. It's a design for the moment, and I'll watch it, adjust it, and repot as needed. Now, every succulent in this pot has a role. Some anchors, some soften it, some spill over the edge, but they all work together because I planted with intention. And the truth is, succulents really are low maintenance once you set them up right. All right, guys, I think this turned out really nice, and I can't wait until we have a break in the weather so that I can place it where its ultimate place is going to be. And I think it's going to do very, very nicely because of the amount of part sun that these guys will get. Well, thank you again for visiting Inspiring Garden Corner, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.